many different ways to organize your structured literacy program. This webcast will walk you through some helpful information from the Ontario Language Curriculum, as well as provide you a sample structure to get you started. Structured literacy is an evidence-based approach to systematically and explicitly teach phonemic awareness, phonics, word reading, spelling, fluency, vocabulary, listening and reading comprehension, and written expression. It is important to recognize that these skills do not exist in isolation, and that students need to develop them simultaneously with an understanding of how the skills are connected. Structured literacy instruction involves consideration of not only what is taught, but also how it is taught. A structured literacy approach to language and literacy learning provides systematic and explicit instruction that is carefully sequenced based on the language skill progression. It cumulatively builds on previous knowledge, is adjusted to meet individual students' needs, and is informed by ongoing assessment. The expectations in the language curriculum are organized into 4 distinct but related strands: literacy connections and applications, foundations of language, comprehension, understanding and responding to text, and composition, expressing ideas and creating text. Strand A focuses on transferable skills, digital media literacy, and cross-curricular and integrated learning. This strand is integrated, assessed and evaluated within the other strands and subjects. The transferable skills are listed for each overall expectation. For example, in Strand B1, oral and nonverbal communication, the transferable skills used are communication, collaboration, and critical thinking and problem solving. Digital media is embedded in as all students explore literacy resources online and learn about digital safety and responsibilities. Educators also embed various viewpoints and contributions from diverse voices in the text they choose and the conversations they have. Strand B focuses on the foundations of language instruction. These are the foundational skills required for reading and writing. These skills include oral communication, phonemic awareness, phonics, fluency, vocabulary, spelling, and grammar. Research shows that these skills are effectively taught through an explicit, systematic daily routine. This daily time for explicit instruction and word work occurs throughout the grades. It simply changes in complexity. In this graphic from Effective Early Reading Instruction, a teacher's guide from the Ministry of Ontario, we can see how the focus of skills changes throughout the early grades. Generally, phonological awareness is only taught for a short period of time before the focus shifts to phonemic awareness. Phonics instruction plays an important role alongside phonemic awareness and throughout kindergarten to grade 3. Later primary grades move towards orthographic patterns and morphemes, and this explicit instruction continues well beyond grade 3 as students begin to learn prefixes, suffixes, and various roots. There are many different ways that educators can structure their time for foundational skills. Most explicit phonics routines have these components embedded in. This example of an explicit phonics routine would take about 30 minutes to work through with your class. You would start with a phonemic awareness warm-up based on skills you know the students are working on. Here, you might ask students to blend and segment 5 to 10 words. Next, you are going to review sounds you have already taught. You might show some flashcards and ask the students to tell you the letter name and the sound it spells. Then you have them practice blending by reading words that contain the new sound, as well as sounds that have been previously taught. Next, you might teach an irregular word that they are going to encounter in the text. Then the students will read a decodable text made up of the sounds you have taught, and finally, finish with dictating some words and sentences so the students can practice writing and spelling. 2 other important components are found in Strands C and D, comprehension and composition. These skills need to be modeled, explicitly taught, and embedded throughout the day in different content areas. Read-alouds are a great way to model and explicitly teach skills like comprehension and components of writing. They are also effective when embedded as part of learning in other subjects as well. A few examples include using read-alouds to build background knowledge in social studies, explicit instruction in reading nonfiction text in science, or teaching specific vocabulary during mathematics. When planning instruction, it is important to consider the tiered approach. If students require more support after regular classroom instruction, or Tier 1 instruction, then students will benefit from small group or Tier 2 instruction. For example, a teacher has done a diagnostic and decided to start their phonics instruction with digraphs. Once the lessons have been taught, the teacher monitors the students and notes who is having difficulties. Those students would then receive further instruction in a small group. They might require more explicit instruction or more time and support to master the skill. This is why it is important that teachers create time in their schedule for small group instruction. So, how do we put all of this together? There are many ways educators can organize their literacy block. Here is one sample schedule based on a 100-minute literacy block to get you started. In this classroom, the educator starts with a whole group lesson based on the foundational skills. Then, they move to small group instruction and independent practice time. In this case, they choose to create centers for their students to practice the skills previously taught. The centers might consist of word games or a variety of reading and writing activities. This also frees up some time to allow the teacher to work with 2 small groups. At 10:10, the teacher moves on to a read aloud to allow for explicit instruction in comprehension and/or composition. To ensure students are able to apply their skills in other areas and allow for ample practice time, the teacher embeds literacy instruction throughout the day. For example, they might use science as a time to explicitly teach new vocabulary or learn how to record the results of an experiment in the form of a report. So remember, there are many different ways to organize your literacy program. To summarize, it is important to consider times to explicitly teach foundational skills, as well as comprehension and composition skills. Consider ways to embed Strand A throughout your programming, and decide when you will be creating time for whole group, small group, and independent practice.